So, Matt, I'm coming right out, and I'm just gonna tell you, I broke a rule today. I'm not proud of it, but I ate dinner before the podcast.
Are you serious?
I did, and I'm sorry. And I was hungry, and I was done with work before the podcast, and I ate.
Do the rules mean nothing?
No. I mean, I figured, now we're in different locations. I just felt like maybe there was a window. There was a window to change the script a little bit or something.
Well, we're still allowed to cuss, right?
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck, man? How could you do this? How could you do this? I'm actually a bit in disbelief. I'm a bit in disbelief. I'm processing.
You're processing. I get it. I can imagine that you feel hurt, and all I can say is that I'm not gonna make a habit of it.
I would hope so. I would hope that's the case. Well,
Yeah.
and what you don't know is that 40 minutes ago that we were getting set up to do this, and Maria was my wife was trying to be nice, and she was like, "Hey, I know that you got therapy, and then you're going right into the podcast. Do you want me to make you dinner and bring it to you before the podcast so you can eat?" And I said, "No, because we don't eat before the podcast. We're not allowed." And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, it started off as a joke, but now like we don't eat dinner before the podcast." And she looked at me like I had two heads. And I'm also realizing in this moment now that the fact that she didn't know the rule means that she's never listened to the podcast. So now I feel betrayed by both of you. And
I'm sorry,
processing.
man. I get it.
What did you eat? What did you eat?
You know what I ate, man. I ate Indian food. That's podcast night fare. It's what it is.
What kind of Indian food you have?
I had a vegetarian delight. I had palak paneer, bud.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Oh my, you're pandering left and right. I love palak paneer. I can't be mad at you if you got palak paneer.
You got to understand, right? I mean, it was here. It was staring at me. Had to do what I had to do. So I regret how you feel.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Oh, all right. This is
Right.
good. This is good. We're teaching the audience how to apologize and fall on the sword. Yeah.
I regret how I made you feel,
Yeah.
but I got a happy tummy. That's what's going on right now.
You know what? Can I tell you something? You fell on the sword by telling me. Here you go. Huge, just gigantic man, bigger man here. I forgive you.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And no eating before the podcast. No eating dinner before the podcast.
Okay. It's a deal. It's a deal. But as you now know, I could go for hours because I'm not. I don't have any need to finish. So just a heads up.
Well, hey, quick heads up for me, because I have discipline and I can do the fasting thing. I can also go for hours. No problem.
Buckle up, audience. Buckle up.
It's about to be it's a battle of wills. It's going to be a war of attrition.
The sun's going to go down and come up.
Yeah. Let's see who starves first. All right, fine. Let's see what happens.
We'll run out of shit to talk about. And eventually we'll run out of shit to talk about.
Maybe.
So aside from feeling deeply betrayed, Matt, how are you?
You know what? I am. I'm actually doing really, really good.
That's good, man.
So excited to do this tonight and be sharing this with everybody that's listening. And just, it always feels like too long in between episodes, so it's good to be back. And yeah, things have been good. How are you doing?
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, we're getting back into the swing of hockey season, buddy. So that's like that's not that it ever actually stops anymore, but it's exciting. The kids are fired up. That's like the topic around the dinner table. It's good. It's good times.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see some videos of Liam and Aaron scoring goals.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, Aaron scored 3 goals in a tournament last weekend. He was like on fire. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
So, no, life is good, buddy. Life is good. So what are we so today, here's what we have on tap. Today we're going to talk about data and decision making, and how contractors need to think about using data for decision making, what data they need, what habits they need to get into to make good decisions, all that kind of stuff. And what do we have for our battle aside from obviously the battle of wills, right?
Besides from our dinner interjection here, we are going to talk about should you do on the job training or classroom training?
Well, the
Which
answer is
ones do you
clear,
need?
and I'll prove it.
That
Yeah.
Can't wait. You got me fired up.
I do. I'm gonna lose today.
And I'm grumpy because I haven't eaten. All right.
I am going to get eaten alive. Pun intended.
Pun intended. All right.
Good. All right. Well, let's talk about data and decision making. So I wanna start off with you for a moment and just think about the data that. Well, you know what? Before I get into that, how do you typically observe most decisions are made, on a day-to-day basis inside the contractors that you've had a chance to work for and work around?
Yeah, great question. And just even as you say that, I do really there's a divide. And actually, I was in a meeting yesterday where I was on one end of the chasm with somebody. But I think the two primary ways are data-based decision making, where there is some certainty in the numbers and you feel confident about what you're doing as a result. And I would say that, and I'm just thinking as I'm saying it out loud, I would say that that's the large minority of the way that decisions are made. And then the other one is very typical of the brain. It's very focused on what's happening here and now and what do we need, and therefore what are we going to do based on what we need right here and right now. And in the best circumstances, those are with like some kind of like, I think the data supports this, but there's not enough certainty in the data to really know. And in the worst circumstances, it's just, I feel that we should do this, so that's what we're going to do. I feel like we should hire a project manager, so we hire a project manager.
Yeah.
Is that similar to your experience? Is there
Totally.
any nuances there that I'm missing?
No, I mean, I love talking about heuristics, right? I love talking about those sort of the trigger rules that our brain creates to have us make good decisions in a shortcut way, right? Like that's what heuristics all about, and most of the time those are working for you, and they're not every decision. You can't. I mean, literally, if you broke down the course of a given workday for a project manager or for the owner of a construction company or for me or for you, it's thousands of decisions. I mean, it's just they stack up really fast if you really mapped it out. And so you cannot blame, nor should you, dislike those kinds of heuristic-driven decisions. Like, well, we have an angry customer and we didn't staff the job appropriately, and so we need to apologize, and we get together a game plan for staffing it up, and we need to meet expectations, or whatever, and just making that snap decision. So many of those decisions are the right ones. I think it's very difficult to distinguish the decisions where we need to slow down and step back.
And it's interesting that you say that, because even as you asked me the question of how I see decisions getting made, my brain immediately went to like the big picture decisions, like should we hire a PM, or should we continue to bid this client, or is our are we working too hard in estimating and what we're doing, and should we change our strategy there? Like I kind of even skipped over those other ones that are those fast decisions that you got to make every day.
Yeah, and the and those really do need to be made like fast, and they shouldn't have to have a whole lot of consideration, and this is where core values come in, right? Is like, follow your values, do the right thing by your culture. And this is where your learned experience comes in, and there's no need to it's not like you shouldn't lean on your X years of experience when you've come across something and you got to make a call. But I do think that you said the bigger type decisions. How do I train my brain, Matt, to recognize, oh, that's a bigger one, so that I can slow down and take a different tack? So if we can acknowledge that there are lots of trigger decisions that you're making that you need to continue making, and you just probably should check on your heuristics from time to time to make sure that they are right. You know what I mean? Like to check on your hair trigger decision-making mechanisms and make sure that you're not making any stupid, quick decisions. That would be a wise thing to do periodically. That notwithstanding, if we say like, you got to make fast decisions, you got to make them based on, those learned experiences and in your mind. How do I train my mind to recognize that's one I shouldn't use that for?
Love that. Do you know about Jeff Bezos and the two doors? Have you ever heard this before?
No.
Yeah,
Hit me.
this is a great one. So Jeff Bezos talked about these types of decisions that we have to make all the time, and he basically said that there's two types of decisions that we make primarily. There are two-way door decisions, and there are one-way door decisions. In the two-way door decisions, we are allowed to walk through the door, get outside and go, oh shit, this was the wrong door to go through. Turn back, walk through the door again, and get back to that decision-making place. And there might even be some more two-sided doors that we can still go to make that decision. Those decisions should not have pain that goes into them. There should not be this painstaking thought, because they need to happen. And most of the time that experience, those simple rules will do you right. And even if they don't, you can walk back out, say sorry, and go a different direction. But the one-way door decisions, I kind of think of it like Monsters Inc. If everybody remembers Monsters Inc. It's like when you go through the door and you close it, when you open the door again, it's gone. There's no way to get back to where you were before, and so to whatever that landscape was that you were on. And so it's those decisions. Should we fire this customer? Should we fire this person? Should we hire a chief estimator? That often are going to be these one-way doors, at least for some amount of time,
Right,
that prevent us from what we need to do.
God damn, I love that. That's really, really good. And I actually have a Bezos experience on, or a kind of commentary on top of that. The guy actually has a lot of, well, surprise, surprise, a billionaire has phenomenal insights.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that he says about decisions is that you need to be able to make decisions with about 70% of the data, because if you wait until you have 90% or 100% of the data, the window closes on being able to make that call. You're just, so I love that. One-way doors, 70% of the data, but data. So the trigger in my mind should be, okay, I'm about to make a one-way door decision that, at least for some period of time, is going to be irreversible.
Yes.
I love that as a gut check for when I need to slow down. So here's one of the things I found, and I'll be interested to stack on top of this, but I think that what too often happens is that decisions are driven, these big types of decisions are driven by a data point that comes to us, such as an exit interview that an employee says, we don't have anywhere near the technology we need to succeed, or we don't have enough staff and we're all overburdened, or such as a client, a piece of client feedback, a single piece of client feedback that says you guys, are totally unprofessional in comparison to your competition. Those types of things. And so these, and look, these events will occur. I'm not telling you that you're going to prevent all these events, but what we're not doing often enough is keeping the data front and center so that we can constantly observe what's going on in our business and make decisions before something smacks us in the face. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I think when you are blind to the information, when you're blind to the data, that one piece of information will swing how you feel about the situation entirely. But if you have a mountain of data that says we're actually performing really well on our jobs consistently and productivity on site has been at a high level, and you get a complaint from a foreman that says we run the jobs incredibly inefficiently, probably what you're doing, instead of changing everything the way that you feel about everything, is one of two things. One, you're going, no, we're good, thanks. Or you're going, ooh, that's interesting. So there might be an opportunity to improve even more because we're already doing really well.
Right.
And you still might make that change, but it's not this holistic, everything is terrible move.
That's exactly right. And that is, there are these emotional moments that occur through the course of any given day or week or whatever, right? Like where you get the bad news call from the client, or, you lose a job that you thought you were going to win, or fill in the blank, whatever. Somebody quits, blah, 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 blah. Those things create a sense of like, are we fucked? Like, are we doing things wrong here? Really well-meaning, even good leaders will find themselves leading discussions about blowing things up and changing how we do it and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that's right. But if you don't have all the data around you, it's very difficult to assess. And so what I'm going to recommend to our audience is surrounding yourself with the most relevant data about your business health all the time, and creating habits of reviewing that data thoroughly, with some structure, with some regularity. So when I say all the time, I don't take that too literally, but the point, it means up-to-date information at your fingertips anytime you need it, and structured review intervals where you are checking that data and using the data to make decisions, as I said, before one of those emotional things comes and punches you in the face.
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, and I do think one of the challenges that so many construction companies run into is the collection of the information, even being able to figure out what they should be collecting so that they can even put that thing in front of themselves, and really how to do that. And so I wonder, just with that recommendation, do you have a preference for who collects the data that you're trying to make as a part of your health check on the business, your pulse for the business?
So I do, and it's hard work up front, and it's very easy to maintain. How most people screw this up is they make people fill in reports to get the data, and the inertia that you fight in getting people to fill in reports is it's very real. You know, the amount of uptake, particularly when you start talking about teams of, 60, 80, 120 project managers. And, the bigger the organization, the more the inertia, and the more you ask people to produce reports, and the more it's, the classic line, garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, we only get about 20% of the data in the first place, kind of thing. And that seems like the easy button. We need this data. Everybody needs to start filling out this report at the end of every week and give us this data. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the easy button. In reality, the information that you get is almost always lacking. And unless you have just a team of absolute soldiers who are willing to produce reports that they have no idea why, right, on a regular basis, you're going to fail in that effort. So the hard but right answer is to ensure that the tools you are using on a day-to-day basis to enable people to do a good job, that in the course of doing their job and enjoying using this tool that is helping them to do their job, that it automatically collects the data for them. And so now I'm sourcing all that data. Now, what kind of data do I need? We talk about this all the time. You break down your business. For all intents and purposes, there are two main components of any business, particularly construction business, and that is your get work function and your do work function, right? And that's where the large majority of the meaningful data is going to come from. That's not to say that there aren't other meaningful data out there, but that those are the two primary sources of data that's going to tell you health about your business. So, do you have a whiteboard with all of the projects that you're bidding that you erase one by one once you bid them, and then you submit the bid, and then you have no place where you've logged all of the bids that you put in, and you say, what did we bid this week? And people are like, let me check my emails.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Or are you using an estimating program that plugs into a CRM, and every time you produce an estimate, that gets automatically created into your CRM? And does your CRM produce a constant rolling report of every bid that you've done? And does it log every phone call that a person makes and every email that a person sends? Right, and create a record of every attempt that we made to close the job? Do we have, the bid GP readily available sitting there as we look at it? Can we? You see what I'm saying? Like, what's your system look like? Because if your system looks like the former, you're going to be saying to people like, "I need you to fill in a report with every bid that you guys did this week." Right? If your system looks like the latter, then all you have to do is go and look at that data. And that's a challenge in and of itself, Matt, that we're going to get to in a minute. But the answer in terms of like who should be collecting this data, it's everybody is creating this data every day. The question is, are you capturing it? And are you using your tools? Are you using A, the right tools, and are you using B, your tools effectively, so that this data is instantly captured and able to be indexed and used for management oversight, for leadership oversight?
Yeah, I love it. I also, quick aside, I'm definitely a data guy. I definitely say data, but I'm like trying to say that like you're a data guy, and now I'm like all in my head about whether or not I say data or
Look,
data.
man, you said Bezos, and it completely fucked me up. I'm a Bezos guy.
Is it a Bezos guy? Oh no! Oh no!
Look, I don't know. I'm just gonna say I'm 2 for 2 in my own brain, and I don't mind if you're 2 for 2 in yours. Right?
Cool.
Maybe
we're on the same, yep.
Maybe that's the XVY today. Maybe that's the fight that we have. I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Look, tomato, data. I think we're squared away.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
I think so.
So let me now pose the question to you, which is, how can I collapse this, index this data, and put it into a usable, reviewable format? So let's assume for a moment that our audience member says, no, we're using, whatever, Procore on the do work side, and we're all power users, right? We track everything every day. Nothing happens on our job that isn't logged in Procore. We know manpower every day. We know productivity. We're able to track true percent complete, all that kind of stuff, and all that data is in Procore. How do I get that data into a place where now, so like, it's great. Oh, I have a mountain of data. Now what?
Yeah. Well, and obviously it depends on the tool that you're using, but one thing that comes to mind immediately with this is without a champion that is ensuring that all of the correct information is being put into the tools and that will reliably go in and check that information, you're missing a key piece because you will see that there continues to be challenges with confidence in that information. And now I'm saying information instead of data or data. I'm in my own head, but you'll see over and over again that is a problem. And so you want somebody that is overseeing that whole part of the process. And then, sorry, what was your question to me again?
So how do I then, get that data
Oh,
into a
yeah.
viewable place?
Yeah. So and again, it depends on the tool that you use, but most of the like tools like Procore or like a builder or insert your CRM here, Project Mark, Uninet, whatever. They have dashboards that you can pull up regularly to look at the information on there. And even if you do have like an Excel spreadsheet that you're using, which is still really, for some of the contractors on here, like that might be an upgrade to what you're doing. It also might be exactly what you're doing. And there's a lot of good stuff that you can do in Excel to create good dashboards and help you to see what information it's spitting out. And there's probably somebody in your organization who loves Excel and would like love to do that for you. And even if there's not, you can go spend $3,500 hiring somebody to build a dashboard based on the information that you want on Excel. So it's just kind of like making a decision that we're going to have some place that actually puts this information in front of us, whether that's through your software or the Excel spreadsheets that you're using.
It's great. So you use this term like 4 or 5 times as we were talking about this, which is dashboards.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll build on that. Completely agree, Matt, with that assessment, and I also agree that somebody's got to be the owner of data purity.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we can't, fail to review and audit and make sure that that this data is right. But rolling that up into a dashboard, what I would recommend is that inside your business, you have a get work dashboard and a do work dashboard, and that you're able to monitor your health with filling your backlog, and that you're also able to monitor your health with executing your work at or better than the target profit margins and schedules and manpower and fill in the blank, right? And that there should be a structured, regular review of both of those dashboards at least once a month.
Mm.
And that that information should probably so there are things that you probably should be monitoring even closer on a weekly or even daily basis that roll up into kind of like your real-time dashboard. Like for example, one of the things I'm a big fan of is for self-performed contractors in particular, being able to check man hours versus so man hours spent that day, feature of work that was supposed to be completed that day, and our actual completion against what our goal was, so that we're able to track not only like we were 80 man hours today, that's right on target. Well, 80 man hours doing what? 80 man hours, did they get the thing done? Because if they didn't, then I don't know if 80 man hours is good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
right? I understand that it's quote unquote on budget, right? But it's not
Yeah.
on budget if they got a quarter of the work done that they needed to get done. So I want to see both of those things, and I want to see them daily. And you know, at least rolling up to the superintendent, if not up to like a director of field operations or something along those lines. But so some of those things should be monitored daily. Some of those things should be monitored weekly. But I think there should be a formal review of the I'll call it macro data, the big picture data for get work and do work every single month.
So right along with that point, when I really started my pre-construction department when I was at the trade contractor that I worked for a while, the genesis, I would say, when I think back, the first step that led to me getting promoted to VP of pre-con was that I would hear, I feel like we're not bidding as much as we should be. And I had no way to say whether or not we were bidding more than we were or not, or, you know, if that feeling was a feeling or if it was reality.
Right.
And so the first thing that we had to do was develop a bid log where we reliably inputted the information, and every estimator was responsible for putting the information into the bid log. And I'm talking margins, I'm talking about client name, I'm talking about whether it was a bid budget, confidence in award, what the dollar value was worth, all of it, location, all of that stuff. The second step to that was, okay, how do we get everybody to do this? And that was having a weekly estimating meeting, 30 minutes. There was a very clear directive that you had to have your bid log updated by the time we got into that estimating meeting. The data better be clean. Otherwise, we're going to talk about it when we get in there. Why isn't it put together? And then we would review the data in that meeting every week as we would actually go through and say, how much did we bid versus our bid goal? How much did we sell versus our selling goal? And what I found myself saying all the time, especially from an estimating perspective, was, hey, we have this estimator has a goal to bid $8 million a month, which means they got to bid $2 million a week. Simple. And some weeks they would have $0 on their bid log. It would show that they were behind goal by $2 million. But if you've ever been an estimator or a project manager and seen how estimating works, you know that sometimes you have no due dates on a bid for a week, and you can have a $0 week. And probably what it means is that you've got a $4 to $6 million week the following week because you got a bunch of stuff due. And so what we'd always say is the weekly check-in, the weekly data review is an accountability tool. It's to make sure that we are able to clearly say why we did not have that $2 million, why I didn't meet goal. And it's not to beat somebody up. Well, hey, why didn't you have anything going in this week? Because I got 3 jobs going in next week. Cool. Just want to make sure the answer is not, I just haven't seen anything that I like. Because that's a different conversation. That's a conversation about the market. That's a conversation about how actively you're reviewing Building Connected or whatever else you're using, whatever. But then, so that weekly accountability tool was there. But then the monthly number, the 8 million was the number that we really cared about.
Yep.
That the month time frame is a long enough time frame for the data to really settle out and make sure that there is clarity and actual meaning behind it. So just to your point about the monthly check-in versus the daily information, you want the daily information, and maybe for some, parts of the job, being a superintendent or a foreman,
Right.
that accountability tool might go down to a day. But what we're looking at is how productive were we this week?
Yep.
And so finding your increments for accountability and finding your increments for data review are those two different pieces to the puzzle that you want to figure out so that you're not beating everybody up if they only put 80 panels on the building and you had a goal of 110, when meanwhile the goal for the week was 500 and they put 640 on. Like, you would be pretty remiss to get on your field team about the Tuesday that they only put 80 panels on the building when they rocked it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Right. Right. But having the ability to same exact kind of conversation, right? Hey, we only did 80 panels. What happened? Well, it's because we were staging for tomorrow and the rest of the week we're teed up and we're going to absolutely crush it. So we're squared away.
Well said. Exactly.
Yeah. I love it, Matt. And so there's these data reviews that occur at different levels, and that data becomes bigger and bigger picture the longer we allow. And then I would take another step and I would say then there's quarterly reviews, which will show you major business trends, right? But if you don't do the daily, weekly, monthly, as you process through that, you're going to get to the quarterly, open everything up and go, holy shit, we're not okay. Right? We've got major problem here, major problem there. And again, what I find, so okay businesses do let quarterly review. Good businesses are doing the monthly review. Great businesses have it broken down into the daily and weekly as needed, along that journey. And bad businesses don't do any data review and they get punched in the mouth with those emotional things that occur with a high level of frequency, and they make decisions in reaction to real, urgent catastrophe type situations. So the more you check and the more you address and modify along your journey, right, the more little adjustments you get a chance to make, the better the data is going to look in aggregate. And the more your decisions tend to be small, tend to be easy, right? We only have to make those big should we fire Joey decisions when we pull the data on Joey for the past year and we see that, Joey's the least productive person on the team.
Yeah.
Worst, though, is we feel like Joey's the least productive person on the team.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And that's way more common. It's way more common, man.
Yeah, no, you're so right. Yeah, you're so right. And and so I think just the more that you get to look at the information, the more confident that you feel in it. And I'll say this, and you might disagree with this. If you are listening to this and you're like, oh gosh, we got to get started, and okay, there's a lot that we need to do here. The thing I would encourage you to do is to just recognize that as you get started, the data is not going to be great or perfect, but that it is a lot better than no data. And so just be ready for a couple months of pain and not trusting the numbers completely. And don't let that be a justification as to why getting this information is actually not worthwhile. That's very normal that as you're getting up to speed that you're saying, it's okay, we're developing some of these things. And you know what? We're in a month 2. And I actually don't know if this information is really right yet because it's only this 2 months of data and we need to see more of it to really know if it's correct yet. And that's an okay thing to say. Now, just also make sure, because this is just a rule in general, whatever you allow as a leader, and if you're that champion, if you're going to be the one that's bringing the data into the organization, you're going to make sure that it starts getting tracked reliably. Whatever you allow early in a new process or anything like that is what the people on your team are going to accept as the standard. And so if early on you're seeing that people are struggling to adopt getting the information in, entering it every day, and you are not going to them and saying, hey, thank you. I know that this has been a struggle and I know that you're working hard on it and the information's still not right and you got to get everything in. I'm serious. You got to get your bid log done every week and it's got to have all the information in there. I get it that we're just starting and I need you to start getting better at that. And then 3 weeks later, when the same thing happens, you address it again. Because if you do not address it early, I'm not saying you got to be a jerk about it. And I actually want you to give lots of grace as people are building habits for a month, 2 months to do it. But I still want you to be going to them and saying, this needs to be done exactly how we have said it here. Because otherwise you'll end up 3 months down the road where at this point you should start being able to say, we feel good about this information that's in here, but you'll still be saying, I'm still not sure if it's right. And that is a different kind of issue than we're still trying to collect the data and get it better. So don't allow those bad habits to keep going without you addressing it early and often.
I think that's right, Matt. And I also, I can't help myself. I have to toss in. And if you're asking your estimators to fill out the bid log, consider the possibility that you just need a better estimating software with required fields that as they fill in said required fields in the estimating software, that at the end of the week, it's very simple to auto generate the bid log, because it's exactly what I'm talking about, Matt, in terms of reliability of getting the data.
Hmm.
I went data that time. Reliability of getting the information
Yeah.
is that you. I want to reduce human error, man, and I want to not ask people to produce reports about what they did. I want the tool where they did what they did to
Mm.
generate the reports.
Yeah. Love
Does
it.
that make sense?
So smart. Yeah. It's the next evolution of what I'm talking about, which I love. Like it's so smart for you to
It's
mention that
not
that's the
always possible. It's not always possible. Not every technology is going to work out that way, right? But like, damn it, it usually is, man. It
mm,
really, it usually is much more possible than you think. And now there's death by software and all that kind of stuff. You certainly, don't want to bury yourself in 100 different technologies in your business. Tech stacks are a whole damn thing, and a lot of the technology that you have could be doing something else that you have another technology to have. Like so being smart and consolidating all that, but just get your tools designed in a way that if people use them correctly, and side note, you should make it almost impossible for them to use them incorrectly,
mm,
i.e., required fields and things along those lines. Like you can't generate a bid unless you have all these fields filled in,
mm-hmm,
right? That's just the way it is.
mm-hmm.
That it removes that, the whatever little frustration people have for like, this is, 3 more fields I got to fill in is vastly overcome by the fact that, that report you had to do, you don't have to do anymore. We got that.
Yeah. It's great. It's great.
So, last little thing on this that I want to sprinkle in, and I really like your take on it, Matt, is so we have all this data, we have all these dashboards, we've set all this stuff up. It's a lot of information. How do I know where my eye should go? How do I spot problems? That kind of stuff. So I have one comment on this and then a question for you, which is that every metric needs a control metric, which is the target. And so you should always be able, if you told me you bid $8 million this month, I can say, cool. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if is that on target or off target. If you told me you won $3 million this month, I don't know if that's good or bad. If you told me that your gross profit per man hour was $44, I don't know if that's good or bad. So every metric needs a control metric so that you can kind of look: is it on target? Is it within the target zone? Is it outside the target zone? And a good dashboard should actually visually do that for you. Right? Reds, yellows, greens, that kind of simple stuff to help you to spot where the real problems are. But then I think about, what role could AI play in all that? What role, if how can I use this massive power that AI puts at my fingertips to take my data analysis to the next level?
Mm. Mm.
That's a question for Matt Verderamo.
Is how can you use AI to take your data analysis to the next level?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Uh, I love it. So, I mean, I think very generally, I don't know the relative knowledge that each person has on this, that's listening to this right now
Try
about
to keep it to
AI.
like 2 minutes. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Because, yeah.
yeah, no, I'll keep it simple. It just is an unbelievably faster functioning human brain. That's the simplest way that I can describe it, and it can process so much information so quickly, and ultimately, it really comes down to the quality of your prompt in what type of output you will get from it. And so, uh, there is definitely opportunity to share what you have learned as industry benchmarks. There is some good information out there that ChatGPT is definitely able to determine industry benchmarks based on reports and studies that have been done, and those benchmarks versus your information that you also can feed into there can be a very useful way to see how you are performing against other contractors, for example, where you stack up, and honestly do your own benchmarking of where you fall against people in a similar situation to you.
Cool.
So that's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Right. I like that. And I think, you know, there's, I think, I like a prediction. Here's a prediction. I think what we're going to find is that over the next, I don't know, I'm going to say 3 years. It's probably going to be 7 months. I don't, with the rate that AI is going. It's going to be very, very normal for companies to have their own AI agents. And that those AI agents are going to be trained on that company's data as well as the broader market's data. And that I'll be able to, for example, feed my weekly production data into my own AI. So just be clear here, right? Like something that is offline. It's not potentially interfacing with the outside world and sharing your privacy, private information. It's air gapped. It's yours, right? Kind of AI agent that I can feed it all of my weekly production data, and I can say, hey, help me spot areas for productivity improvement. Help me identify the foremen who are driving the most productivity. Take a look across all these projects. And by the way, you have all the plans for all these projects. You have all the, right, you have all the data for these projects. What do these projects that have the worst productivity have in common? Are there any common threads? And using that information, identify simple, dumb things like anytime you do something that's more than 3 floors, you absolutely have at least 5% GP fade by the end of the project. Wow. Right? Like that's fascinating. You know what I mean? Like what do these things have in common? And so on and so forth. But I think AI can play this unbelievable role. And this is available right now. Like, this is not like someday. I'm saying someday this is going to be really, really common. But what I'm saying is right now, you can get an AI agent built inside your business that does all of this type of heavy lifting for you. And it's not bazillions of dollars. It's not an an unreachable thing. There are the every day this gets more and more accessible to people. And so that's just a thought, and certainly you could use GPT today. And if you have the professional GPT, it's not online and you're not, well, it is online, but you're not sharing information with other people, and, they protect your data if you trust OpenAI, and you could certainly sanitize data, right? All those types of things. Like there are things you could do using the market-based stuff, but, I believe that the next generation of data analysis is going to be mostly driven by AI data analysis and human decision making based on AI data analysis.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, and I'll just say to the people that are listening to the pod here that I would bet that 95% of you that are out there, whether you're business owners or whatever, that there is somebody in your business, at least one, that is obsessed with using AI.
True.
And would absolutely love to help bring some of these initiatives forward, even in the meantime, before you go hire somebody to put an AI agent in your business. And even if you don't know all of it, that's okay. But there is somebody who would love to give you a couple hours every week working on this kind of stuff. They probably are in their free time, and they will be so fired up to do it. So look out for those people. Bring the conversations up. Start talking about it. Don't let it pass you by.
Be educated about the actual risks associated with the AI that you're using. Make sure that you go through the process of getting educated, but don't be afraid. There's a lot of fear. A lot of folks that I talk to are, I was with a guy yesterday who's a wonderful guy, awesome business owner. One of I would put him in the top echelon of well-run businesses, right? He's a really smart guy, but he goes, as far as AI is concerned, I am not going to be a pioneer. Pioneers get killed by the Indians. I will let all that happen, and then I will come in behind. Right. And I was like, I get it. I totally understand what you're saying. But the thing that's really driving it is a lack of knowledge and a little bit of a belief that the knowledge is ungettable. And it's like, it's get educated and figure out what your risk threshold is. And don't be so afraid of it that you don't touch it. Now he's
Mhm.
smart enough and he's touching it. I'm not saying that's him in case he's listening. But at any rate, all right. Awesome conversation about data and decision making, and I think helpful for me as always to be forced to put some of my thoughts into words and to listen to your awesome ideas in there. So thanks, Matt.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And by the way, I'm not hungry at all. I'm fine.
Yeah, well, I can tell you my I am just cozy. I got the happiest little tummy. I mean, just the happiest. Yeah. So where are we going now, Matt?
We're fighting.
Yeah. Well, let's keep this fight tight. I realize that data conversation went on a lot longer than I anticipated.
Yeah, it's good. Shouldn't take long. All
right, cool.
So all right. So the fight is all about is on the job training the priority, or is classroom training the priority? What do you need for your team? And so I know how I feel about this, as somebody who spent time, working for the trade contractor that I did for 7 years and all that stuff, and even being in the classroom environment now and getting to go train our clients now. But man, there is just no substitute for on the job training. So you already agree with me on that, right? You're not even going to try to fight me about classroom training versus on the job training, Chad?
Wrong.
Oh no. Oh no. So it's going to be a longer fight than I thought. All right, go ahead.
It's going to be, well, so I'm not like all of our fights, right? It's not as a hard either or, I don't think. But if I were prioritizing, quite frankly, I would prioritize kind of I'm gonna cheat, a kind of a hybrid environment. Now go with me here. It's
I'm listening.
Classroom and sandbox. Because I do think that you have to have practice doing the thing that you're learning, because knowledge and skills are different. And I know we've talked about that before, probably on the pod. But, just because I know how to do a thing doesn't mean I can do a thing. And so I need some ability to practice my skill. But here's my chief issue with people who are behind the quote unquote on the job training. That's the right way to train, is on the job. My issue with those people with that mentality is that on the job training, in my experience, 99 times out of 100 is basically code for we're too fucking busy to teach you. And so we're going to put you out there and you're going to work underneath, Carlos, and you're going to see how Carlos does it. And like, ask Carlos if you guys have questions, and then, you're just going to be doing it. And that is throw them in the deep end approach that I despise. I think it's insane, and I oftentimes use the analogy of like the U.S. Marines. Matt, how long is boot camp? Do you know?
Is it 6 weeks?
It's generally 10 weeks, if I remember correctly.
Weeks. Yeah,
but I could be wrong and you could be right. I'm not sure, but I do believe it's 10 weeks. Point is, it gets measured in weeks. And when the person goes into that boot camp, for the most part, having nothing to do with the fact that they're the type of person that went into the U.S. Marines, because they're wonderful people, but having only to do with the fact that they're young and comparably dumb, because of their youth and lack of life experience, they're a bunch of punk kids. And 10 weeks later, they are some of the finest war fighting professionals in the world. In 10 freaking weeks. Right? That is what training. That is what excellence in training looks like. Now I want you to imagine that somebody joins the Marines and they just deploy them to Afghanistan. And they're like...
It's so ridiculous when you put it like that. It's so ridiculous.
I want you to there's Carlos. He's real good. He's real good. I want you to hang out with Carlos. I want you to just watch what he does. If he shoots, shoot. right? And like, if he runs, fucking definitely run, right? It's insane. And so you must take the time to actually slow down and teach people how to do this stuff. Now, should they be sitting behind desks the whole time? No, they shouldn't be. And they don't sit behind the desk the whole time in the U.S. Marines, but they do sit behind the desk sometimes. And it's the difference between knowledge transfer and skill development. And they do a combination of those things, but they do the skill development in a sandbox where it's okay to fail, where there's no live ammunition, where you where nobody's going to be actually mad at you because you got your buddy killed.
Yep.
That is how people need to learn. They need to learn in safe environments where they can go fast and they can fail and they can try again and fail and try again and get it right. That, sir, is why classroom training trumps on-the-job training.
I love it. I love it. And meanwhile, there is no amount of classroom training and knowledge that trumps the knowledge that you get when you're actually doing the dang thing out
no
there
doubt.
on the job, on the job. No, and I do love what you're saying. And as is always the case, that there is a middle ground. And the way that I really have kind of been able to internalize this thought is the very common way that contractors train their people is by sink or swim. And they toss them into the deep end, as you mentioned, and they just see what happens. They see if they sink or they see if they swim. And something that I hear all the time from contractors is, I'm so frustrated. I hired this person and they didn't come, whether this is the exact quote, but like they didn't come out of the box ready to be a PM for me. And I expected them to be they portrayed themselves that they were going to be this amazing PM.
And they've been a PM for 3 years or whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And even if they have been, they've never been a PM for your company. And so there's so much that changes about the way that they're going to do their job because every company is different. And so that sink or swim is an ineffective way to keep people around ultimately. Because one, you get fed up with them because they fail, or two, they get super burnt out and they leave because they're tired of it.
Yep.
Now, meanwhile, the people that survive, so I guess there's a third, which is that they survive.
Sure.
And those people are battle-hardened motherfuckers, and they are usually fantastic at what they do because they have figured it out along the way and they've learned so fast from all of that experience. Which none of this is me condoning sink or swim. I just am giving the space for the fact that there is that huge benefit that you get so much if you're able to survive. It's just such a small fraction of people that are able to survive, and they may even end up resenting the fact that they got trained that way and burn out and leave anyway too. So even if they do make it through that point. So the way that I like to think about it these days is more like a swim instructor approach, where there's more deliberate week to week on the job training, where you are delegating certain tasks and you are working alongside that person and you are giving them challenging assignments that push them outside of their comfort zone. And then, just like any good instructor or any good coach, you have some kind of regular check in with that person, maybe every week that you're doing, where you're saying, hey, what happened on that last week? How did that work? And just like a good coach, you're saying, what would happen if you did this instead? Why do you think that didn't work? What went through your mind there? And that enables you to see some of these additional areas for development. And so, meanwhile, I know you want to get back at me, and we're totally of the same thinking here, where there is an added layer here, which is when you do have, and the part that I'll give you about classroom training for sure, is that when you do have even that swim instructor approach, where you're giving challenging assignments and then you're coaching in the margins, your coaches, your managers are definitely lacking in certain areas as well. And it's extremely difficult for them to teach the areas that they don't know themselves explicitly. And so my argument for classroom training is there are so many soft skills, there are so many practical application of things like management, of things like leadership, of things like customer service, of things like sales, that if the person that is your instructor is not totally dialed in well, then you're going to be in a situation where they're struggling to get any better than the person that they're working for is. And when you leverage, whether it's an outside resource or it's somebody from your buddy's company, whatever it is, to come in and actually teach the team this specific different way, this specific different mindset, you unlock a whole new level for those people.
Yeah, the I think the part that we are in complete agreement on is they need practice.
Hmm.
And I think perhaps the only, and this may just come down to practicalities, Matt, like where it's just like, what can a company actually afford to do? But I know from what I've seen in the best training organizations in the world, inside and outside the construction industry, is that they create really safe practice that is very fast paced, where people they don't like get a little information and then catch an assignment, basically not know what the hell they're doing, do it wrong, and then then have a boss come by and go, all right, I gotta do your thing again. Kind of. Instead, they're put through deliberate practice, very deliberate practice, to check the skill boxes as we go and prove not just to the company, but to themselves, that level of self-confidence that one gets, that like, I know how to do this. I think, at the end of I've had this conversation with so many different leaders over the years, where people are like, what is the training and this classroom training and practice and all that kind of stuff? Like, there's no, there's no substitution for actually going out and doing it and blah, blah, blah. Why do we do this? And my answer that I have not yet been proven wrong is that, if nothing else, training and practice is about confidence. It's about confidence. Because if you have somebody who lacks confidence that they know what the right thing to do is, they are going to suck. Even if they know, even if they think they know. And I'm going to say it. Especially our incoming generation of people who are terrified to fail. They're just terrified to fail. And they're terrified to let people down and to get negative feedback and to have a blemish and, like all that kind of stuff. Training makes it safe. Training and practice makes it safe. So but I totally like, look, even in the U.S. Marines, when the new guys get deployed to the field, the guys who are in the field look at them and go, "Oh, you don't know shit."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's true enough too. That is true enough too. It doesn't make them great, but it makes them capable of being great quickly. They could be 3 weeks in that field, 3 weeks into their tour, and be as sharp as the most hardened veteran out there, because they really do have superior training, and we should be aiming for that in our industry.
I love it. Yeah, and maybe it's just the part of me that's getting hungry and wants to end the fight, but I think you might have won that one.
I'm so happy because I really thought I would lose, because I know how angry you are, but I also think maybe the your will is waning.
Yes,
and I'll take it. I like that.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
Let's I'm gonna. What's the stance on lying about eating? Can I lie about eating moving forward? No, we'll talk about
just
that
stop
offline.
that. What's the stance on lying? Let's end it there. What's the...
Oh, right. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Values. All right. I'm back at it.
Exactly.
I'm here.
Remember that whole thing you said earlier about values? Yeah.
Honesty and transparency. Yes.
Yes.
All right, fine. That would be a violation of that. But I led with honesty and transparency, buddy. And you did not show very much grace and empathy. I got to tell you, it took a while for you to come around on that. All right. What are you reading, brother?
I had an emotional reaction. I am reading I think it's called The 48 Laws of Human Nature. And I think it's some number of laws of human nature by Robert Greene.
Oh, yeah. Same dude. This is the same dude who wrote the Rules of War.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think he has another one that's like the 48 Laws of Power. That's why I could be wrong about the number of laws of human nature.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But oh my gosh, does the book make me feel all kinds of like icky and weird.
Yeah, it's a little Machiavellian. Yeah.
It is. It's like, if you want to kind of dominate other people, like this is exactly how you do it. And there's definitely some goodies that I'm picking up along the way. So I'm not even saying like icky in too bad of a way. It's just like I definitely am not going to change my whole life to act in the way that that would make get me the optimal result from human nature, and I feel good about that. But I am really glad to understand the way that some of these things work, and kind of just be aware of certain things that might cause me to act a certain way, or when I see other people acting a certain way, that it just kind of gives me some like tools for thinking like, ooh, that's something I need to avoid.
Yes.
So that's been pretty fascinating.
I love it. I love the book Power of Influence by Robert Cialdini, right?
Yeah,
If we yeah.
absolutely.
Have you
Oh,
have you read
absolutely.
that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Very
So yeah.
very similar. Though Robert Greene tends to write like a here's how you do it kind of way.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Cialdini tends to write in a sort of like if other people are doing it to you run, kind of
One
way,
thousand
which makes
percent.
me feel way safer,
Yes. One
but
thousand percent.
but there's something really fun about the way that Green does. Like I enjoy
I
the
yeah.
like, oh man, that's dirty, that's dirty,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And no, I'm glad you're reading it. I'm glad you're learning from it. It's a lot of what to do, a lot of what not to do, and it's a lot of
Mhm.
what to be aware of when others are doing to you. And
Yeah.
I will tell you that ever since reading the Laws of War book, that definitely made a big impact in the way I started to see how other people were playing games, whether they were aware of them or not. I
Yeah.
started
Right. Right.
becoming very aware myself of like, I see that move. I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, I'm the
Yeah.
type of person that doesn't feel the need to say I see that move and I see exactly what you're doing. I just counter,
Yes.
like that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Because I also don't want to be weird and be because I think it gives the other person an opportunity to gaslight and be like, "What are you talking about? I
Yeah.
wasn't doing
Yeah.
that at all."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Fun.
Yeah. What
Good
are you
book.
reading?
I am reading 1177 BC, the year civilization collapsed by Eric Klein.
Oh, what's that about?
So I'm early in the book, but it's about ancient Egyptian civilization.
Interesting.
Yep, and the sort of it's what I'm always fascinated by is how much progress humankind has made earlier than we like to imagine. We like to imagine that like things really just kind of got good, or advanced, since the beginning of the 20th century, the Industrial Revolution, that kind of stuff. But in fact, ancient civilizations were quite advanced in their diplomacy, in their trade, in their politics, their structures, all those types of things. Very, very interesting. And as you know, those are my go-to bedtime reads because I really enjoy history taking me away to a place of like, wow, the world was pretty cool or pretty bad or, like whatever. And I don't have to worry about it because it's already in the past, which is
Yeah.
just really nice. It's
Yeah.
really nice. But yeah, I'm impressed by the ancient Egyptians, and I knew very, very little about them. So
I was gonna say, I feel like that's not one that you hear about often, at least nearly enough.
yeah, so the point that they're building up to, and the whole book really is designed, I think, to build up to is 1177 BC, when in theory there were fissures that turned to cracks that caused the entire workings of trade and diplomacy and politics, like the whole power structure collapses, and I can't wait to find out how. So
Yeah.
I'll update you
Yeah.
next time.
Well, because it has probably repeated itself since and will repeat itself again in one way or another.
I really wish that wasn't true, but it is so goddamn true. Just
Yeah.
we cannot seem to learn.
Yeah. Humans, man. Humans, we've got some baggage.
Yeah, well, we're hardwired to think that like, well, now it's different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's easy when you only live for so many years, and if you don't study history, you just never really get exposed to what's happened before you. So it's hard to really imagine that your life isn't unique.
Yeah, agreed. I honestly think it's one of the biggest tragedies of our current educational system is that we don't put more of a priority on teaching history and civics and social studies the way that I was taught social studies and civics in a way that my kids are not getting, and so my kids it's really funny. Like every drive turns into me being like, "What do you know about the Mycenaeans?" You know, that kind of stuff. You know, and they're like, "Oh no," but they're gonna get history one way or the other. Damn it, that's
Yeah.
happening.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it.
Matt, thank you for hanging in there for the pod and holding strong on the fast plan. I need to. I'm going to model that behavior moving forward.
I trust you. I trust you.
Thanks,
I
Matt.
know it's just a lapse. And you know what? Who's to say I wouldn't make the same decision? Who's to say I didn't in like the second or third episode do the same thing and betray your trust? So, you know, if you
Yeah.
go back and listen, I might have some blood on my hands as well. So, all is forgiven.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Can't wait to do this again, buddy. The next time we do it, you're probably going to be a dad.
It's no big deal. I'm just
No
gonna have
big
dad
deal.
strength. Just gonna have dad strength at that point.
Yeah. Dad strength and bags under your eyes. Watch.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right,
I look
man.
forward
See
to
you
it.
soon, brother.
CCP.